Here's my preview of the Baylor versus Kansas women's basketball game. This is an important game for Baylor here because this is a Kansas team that's coming off of a loss and they're receiving votes right now in the polls. Some players keep on for Kansas is Holly Kirsten Geeter. She's a 5'11" guard. That's a junior. 14 points per game. 43 for 111 on threes. 86 for 108 on free throws. 4.7 rebounds per game. 1.8 assists per game. 2.1 turnovers per game. 2 steals per game. Zakiya Franklin is a 5'7" guard. That's a junior. 11.7 points per game. 16 for 50 on threes. 84 for 95 on free throws, 3.1 rebounds per game, 1.2 fouls per game, 4 assists per game, 2.8 turnovers per game, 0.8 steals per game. Iona Chatstiliante is a 6'3" forward. That's a sophomore, 9.3 points per game, 2.2 for 8 on threes, 46 for 57 on free throws, 5.6 rebounds per game, 2.5 turnovers per game, 0.6 steals per game, 0.9 blocks per game. Tiana Jackson is a 6'6" center. That's a junior, 8.9 points per game, 37 for 64 on free throws, 8.2 rebounds per game, 2.6 turnovers per game, 3.1 blocks per game, 1.8 steals per game. Anaya Thomas is a 5'7" guard. That's a senior. 8.5 points per game. 23 for 82 on threes. 50 for 69 on free throws. 2.6 rebounds per game. 1.5 turnovers per game. 0.9 steals per game. Chandler Prater is a 5'11" guard. That's a sophomore. 7.3 points per game. 8 for 32 on threes. 50 for 63 on free throws, 4 rebounds per game, 1.7 turnovers per game, 1 steal per game. Julie Brousseau is a 5'9" guard. That's a senior, 5.5 points per game, 32 for 79 on threes, 17 for 19 on free throws, 1.6 assists per game, 1.4 turnovers per game. Mia Vucic is a 6-foot guard. That's a sophomore, 4.2 points per game, 17 for 37 on threes, 2 for 3 on free throws. Katherine Jensen is a 6'3" forward. That's a sophomore, 3 points per game, 1 for 1 on threes, 6 for 16 on free throws, 2.1 rebounds per game, 0.8 turnovers per game, 0.6 blocks per game. Denia Papadopoulou, that's a mouthful. She's a 6'5" center. That's a freshman. 2.2 points per game, 2 for 4 on free throws, 0.9 turnovers per game. Erica Haynes Overton didn't play last game, but she's a 5'6" guard as a senior, 2 points per game. Now free throws attempted, 0 for 1 on threes, 1.2 turnovers per game. Sana Strom didn't play last game either. She's a 6-foot guard. That's a freshman at 1.8 points per game, 1 for 7 on threes, and 3 for 4 on free throws. Nadira Atareyeb is a 6'4" center. That's a sophomore, 1.3 points per game, 5 for 7 on free throws, 2 rebounds per game. Matea Nikolic is a 6'4" forward, 0.3 points per game, 0 for 7 on threes, 1 for 2 on free throws, and 0.8 fouls per game. Chisom Ajokuwu is a 6'4" center. That's a junior, 0 points per game, no for threes, no free throws attempted. It's obvious. Offensively for Baylor, you got to make more shots than last game. Granted, you did win by 7 points, and I know that you had 19 turnovers last game. 6 of the 7 players that played had 3 turnovers apiece. That's not gonna cut it. I mean, 19 turnovers is way too much. You had 44 rebounds, and 6 of them were only on the offensive end. And you gotta shoot the ball better, take care of the ball, get more fast break points if possible, and possibly even more points in the paint. Even besides making more threes, but and second chance points as well would help in this game immensely. Now, defensively, when you're not turning the ball over like 19 times, guess how many points they allowed last game? Points on turnovers. 26. That's way too much to a team against Oklahoma State that struggles mightily on offense. You can't have that number happen. And they had 14 offensive rebounds last game, so you got to box out. You won the rebounding battle, but you just didn't box out defensively, and you allowed 10 rebounds. And it seemed like whenever they got an offensive rebound, they scored. They had 20 fast break points on you last game. You got to correct that immensely. And the second chance points, 13 points off second chances. So really, you got to cut that down. And you did a pretty good job in the paint for the most part. So defensively, you got to put pressure on them. You got to play a lot better defense than you did. And granted, they were 8 for 21 on threes, but 2 of those were banked in that game against Oklahoma State. Granted. And even a mid-range shot that was banked in as well. So that's 8 points off the board. So it would have been a 15-point win without those banks. But you know what I'm saying. They did pretty good defensively, for the whole game against Oklahoma State. 23 for 75 shooting the ball. 23 makes out of 75 attempts. That's pretty good. It's just, you allowed 8 threes. You can't allow you got to shut down the shooters for Kansas. And you didn't allow many free throws. They only attempt last game. Oklahoma State only attempted 5, so that helps. So foul trouble is a big thing you got to do remainder of the year, regardless. And you got to not pick up cheap ones and contain your emotions, especially when you go get a block or something. And whenever you force a turnover, you got to score off of those. Like I said. And it would help offensively if Jordan Lewis were more aggressive from the get-go. You got to find a way as a team to have a quicker start than the last few games here. Though I know they had to play TCU twice last week, and they played Oklahoma State 3 games against teams below down the bottom of the league. You just got to find a way not to be so slow in starting the game here. Because you got Kansas coming up, and they're coming off a beatdown to Iowa State, 85-59. And I tell you what, Kansas won 7 straight prior to last night. And I know part of it might be their schedule, but you got to beat the teams in front of you. That's what Baylor women have done after that crazy stretch with Oklahoma and Texas twice and then Kansas State. They have to beat the teams up front. And you also need this win here if you're Baylor, just to say you're at least first place in the Big 12 tied with Iowa State, regardless of what happens with Iowa State. And you really, really need to win this game. And if Iowa State would lose on Saturday, that would help immensely. But I don't know if they're going to really lose, granted, because I don't think they're playing anybody as tough as Kansas. But I'm going to check real quick. They play Texas Tech, but here's the deal. Texas Tech beat Oklahoma at Oklahoma, and they beat Texas at Texas. So they're not any team for Iowa State to sleep on here. Anyways, if you like this content, hit the like and subscribe button. I'll see you guys later. Let's get me up to 400 subscribers or more by the end of this year.